everyone, and welcome to DMT's coverage of South by Southwest 2014. It's just the first day, and things are starting to kick off here in Austin, and lots of music playing everywhere, even if it's only the interactive festival, and we'll have to wait a few more days for the real music to come in. But I met with a few interesting companies today. First up, Zaya, a music gaming company that released a game back in December, a mobile game, to create music on a consumer level, I guess. It's quite a gamified experience in putting your own mark on existing tracks, but they've made it really simple and really customizable. Really, you can even add your own vocals and choose different types of instruments and have an end product that is really unique to the consumer. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do and how they progress in the future. The interview is going to go up tomorrow on Digital Music Trends YouTube channel. Also had a quick interview with the company Soundwall. They created an interesting speaker, which is essentially hangs on the wall. It's quite thin, about 4 or 5 centimeters thick. It works with AirPlay, so it's great for the iPhone, and it also has an RCA output for use with Sonos, for example. But the cool thing about it is that you can print your own artwork on it, so you can just send them an artwork to get printed. And also they've created now a blank canvas where you can just order it blank and then paint on it. So it's a pretty cool thing, and it sounded quite good as well. So that interview is going to go live tomorrow too. Interesting stuff happening around Austin. Well, there's lots of it. Mashable had their own house, which opened this morning, where they had a wrecking ball, believe it or not. And also you can take Grumpy Cat selfies, although Grumpy Cat wasn't here, I don't think. There were lots of Google Glass going around. I think there's probably the highest concentration of Google Glass ever here at South by Southwest. And some people really suit the Google Glass and some people really don't suit it. So it's kind of an interesting one there. And also 3M, I found out that the company creates fluids that you can submerge servers in and keep them cool. So I didn't know that you could submerge servers in fluids of any kind. So that's a pretty interesting thing to know. And also there was an interesting panel today. It was a power play panel by CEOs with Carly Rooney from the Knot and Jeff Hausenbold from Shutterfly, Michael Dell, the CEO of Dell, and Steve Kaufer from TripAdvisor. So it was all about entrepreneurship. For example, Michael Dell talked about how when he started Dell, the company had 80% growth for the first few years of its existence. His aim was always to create affordable, accessible technology, which has become really, in his view, super important to the development of economies all over the world. And he was remarking on the fact that between 1995 and 2005, the number of people in poverty has been cut in half. And that's also in part due to technology. And he also remarked on the fact that 70% of new jobs created come from startups and young companies, which is pretty cool. And that internet commerce in a lot of developed countries is hitting 20% of GDP. And that's all from an economy that didn't really almost exist 20 years ago. And it was an interesting conversation just because they were talking about how the companies got started. And TripAdvisor, for example, started as a B2B licensing site. They wanted to license reviews to other websites, and then they had to change their attitude as the website progressed and changed their business plan to become a consumer-focused website. It also was interesting to hear from TripAdvisor the fact that they sold the company quite early on, and then after a fair few years as part of a global or public company, they actually decided to spin out and did an IPO themselves. So that was an interesting thing that they talked about. And around the conversations on IPOs, the CEO of the Knot also talked about their IPO and the fact that it was kind of a marketing event for the company. It was a way for them to raise the $35 million they needed to really expand and keep the company growing. So in that sense, it's interesting to think about the IPO that Spotify might undergo in a few months' time if the rumors are correct. It would be interesting to see if that capital that would come in from an IPO could help Spotify really expand even more, and with the money raised, the company could really take the next step into conquering the music streaming world. And well, I think that's pretty much about it from Austin, Texas for today. night coming, and I'm gonna head back to the accommodation and get rid of my hugely heavy bag before I head on to some of the parties happening later on tonight. Thanks so much for listening to the DMT on the fly coverage of South by Southwest, and please stay tuned. You can find out everything on sxsw.digitalmusictrends.com, or you can follow me on Twitter on @DJMusicTrends.